This is going to be chapter 25, Fixed Poetic Forms. The first major topic in this chapter is forms, fixed forms, and open forms. Form is an overall shape and structure. If that structure has been long established, it will have a name. Fixed form, also known as closed form, describes an arrangement of text that requires a poet to obey set written combinations. These will include line length, meter, stanza structure, and rhyme scheme. Open form, also known as free verse, refers to poetry ungoverned by metrical or rhyme schemes. The next major topic is going to be building blocks of form. Is to understand how poets conceive, contrast, fixed forms. It's important to recognize some of the components that contribute to a poem's particular shape. The basic unit of poetry is, of course, the line, a row of words containing phrases and sentences. Blank verse, which may be the simplest verse form, consists of unrhymed lines of verse, all in the same meter, usually iambic pentameter. The next major topic is going to be the sonnet, easily most recognizable fixed form in poetry, a 14-line poem in a recognizable pattern of rhyme, often metered in iambic pentameter. Now, an example of that will be on page 839 by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Name of the poem is How Do I Love Thee? Let Me Count the Ways. The next major topic in this chapter is going to be the villanelle, which consists of 19 lines and only 2 rhymes, all in iambic pentameter. It's a rural or rustic form with a full refrain of repetition of the first and third lines in song-like fashion. An example of that is going to be on page 849 by Elizabeth Bishop. Name of the poem is One Art. The next major topic in this chapter is going to be the sestina. This consists of 6 stanzas composed of 6 lines each. It features word repetition rather than rhyme, with the final word of each line in the first stanza repeated in a different order in the following 5 stanzas. An example of that is going to be on page 851 by Elizabeth Bishop. Sestina is the name of the poem. The next major topic in this chapter is going to be the pantome. A formal arrangement in verse also has line groups into quatrains, and there can be as many as or as few stanzas as the poet chooses. An example of that would be on page 853 by Erica Funkhauser. The name of the poem is First Pontoon of Summer. The next major topic in this chapter is going to be the haiku, which calls for 17 syllables in 3 verses, 5, 7, and 5. An example of this would be on page 855, Masu Bashu, Deep Autumn. The next major topic is going to be the epigram, a very short, often satirical poem on a single subject. An example of that will be on page 857 by A.R. Ammon's Small Song. The next major topic would be the limerick, a light, often humorous verse consisting of 5 lines with a rhyme scheme of ABBA. The first, second, and fifth lines have 3 stressed syllables, whereas the third and the fourth lines have 2 stressed syllables. An example of that will be on page 861, A.E. Houseman, To an Athlete Dying Young. That's the name of the poem. And the final major topic in this chapter is going to be the ode, which takes recognizable shape in its celebration of a quality or condition or situation. And an example of that is on page 867 by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Name of the poem is Audie in the West Wind.